Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are cracking open the Digital Detectives Toolkit. We're going to explore the essential software that cybersecurity pros use to solve modern cyber crimes and, follow those hidden digital footprints that criminals always think they've covered up.
So let's kick things off with this really crucial idea. After any kind of digital incident, it doesn't matter if it's a massive data breach or a sneaky insider threat, there is always a story hidden in the data. And the tools we're about to look at, they're the magnifying glass, the fingerprint kit, they're what makes reading that story possible.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll set the stage at the digital crime scene. Then we'll dive into the free, open-source tools that anyone can start with. After that, we'll check out the professional-grade arsenal. We'll even get into some really specialized techniques, before we finish with what is arguably the most important part, making sure the evidence you find is actually solid.
Okay, let's get right into it. Picture this, a digital crime scene. Maybe data has been stolen or a critical system has been completely compromised. As the investigator, it's our job to follow that trail of digital breadcrumbs that has inevitably been left behind.
Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of each specific tool, you gotta understand that they basically fall into two different worlds. On one side, you've got your free, open-source tools like Autopsy. These are fantastic for students, for beginners, or for that initial look at a problem. But on the other side, you've got the heavy hitters, the enterprise-grade platforms like EnCase. These are the go-to for law enforcement and big corporations, mainly because their results are designed to hold up in a court of law.
So, let's start with the stuff anyone can get their hands on. This is the open source toolkit. These tools are incredibly powerful, they're free, and they're the perfect starting point for anyone looking to get their hands dirty in digital forensics.
The first dynamic duo you'll always hear about, Autopsy and the Sleuth Kit. The best way to think about it is like this. The Sleuth Kit is the super powerful command line engine that can dig incredibly deep into a hard drive. And Autopsy? That's the user-friendly graphical interface, kind of like the dashboard on a car, that makes that powerful engine accessible to everyone.
So Autopsy is really your first stop for taking a deep dive into a computer's file system. You can use it to build a timeline of what happened, pull back deleted files that someone thought were gone forever, and track pretty much everything a user did. But here's the catch. It's really built for analyzing one local machine at a time. It's not designed for the complexities of cloud or mobile investigations.
Okay, so if a hard drive holds clues about the past, Wireshark lets you see the crime as it's happening, in real time. It is literally like a wiretap for your network. It captures and dissects all the little data packets flying back and forth, which is exactly how investigators can spot an intruder chatting with their command server or watch sensitive data being snuck out of the network.
Now, for a really cool, more advanced technique, memory analysis. You see, some of the most sophisticated malware out there is designed to run only in a computer's live memory, its RAM, to avoid being found on the hard drive. A tool like Volatility lets an investigator take a snapshot of that live memory, sort of like a brain scan, to find malicious code that would otherwise be completely invisible.
All right, we've seen the starter kit. Now let's graduate to the big leagues. This is the pro-level arsenal. We're talking about powerful, expensive platforms that are trusted by law enforcement agencies and huge global corporations. Tools built for complex cases where the evidence absolutely has to hold up in court.
So what makes EnCase such a big deal? Well, it all comes down to its reputation. For decades, it has been the gold standard for collecting court-admissible evidence. Its entire process, from acquiring the data to analyzing it, is built from the ground up to be legally defensible.
Now, if EnCase is the trusted legal standard, FTK's job is to be the speed demon. Think about it. In a major corporate breach, investigators could be looking at terabytes of data from dozens, if not hundreds of servers. Speed is absolutely everything. FTK is built to just tear through all that evidence, indexing it so you can find that one critical email or that one hidden file before the trail goes cold.
And let's be real, in today's world, where does so much of the evidence live? Right here in our pockets. Investigating a crime almost always means investigating a mobile device, and that is precisely the job Cellebrite was built for. It is the undisputed industry leader for bypassing locks and pulling data straight from phones, even from encrypted apps.
Okay, so beyond the general-purpose tools, digital forensics has some pretty incredible specialized fields. Sometimes investigators need to follow much more complex clues, which brings us to the intricate art of dissecting malware.
This three-step process is a great example of how investigators combine these tools. So first, they'll capture the malware running live in memory using Volatility. Then, they'll use a seriously powerful reverse engineering tool like Kedra to basically deconstruct its code and figure out what it was designed to do. And finally, they'll check its digital signature on VirusTotal to see if the global security community has ever seen this particular threat before.
You know, it's not just about what's on one computer, right? Attackers move across the entire network, and that's where another specialty comes in: network forensics. This is all about monitoring that constant flow of data traffic to spot weird patterns, detect intrusions as they happen, and trace an attacker's movements throughout the organization.
And for that job, you need some seriously sharp security guards watching the gates. That's where tools like Zeek and Suricata come in. They sit on the network, quietly watching everything that happens, creating these super detailed logs of all connections. And they're configured to sound the alarm the second they see traffic that match the signature of a known attack.
And finally, let's cover what is maybe the most critical principle in all of digital forensics. See, you can find the perfect piece of evidence, the smoking gun, but if you can't prove that it's authentic and that it hasn't been tampered with, it's completely worthless.
The magic behind proving authenticity is something called cryptographic hashing. The easiest way to think about it is as a unique digital fingerprint for any file or piece of data. It's a mathematical process that creates this unique code. And here's the key: if you change even a single comma in a 10-page document, that digital fingerprint changes completely, proving it's been altered.
But, and this is a huge but, not all digital fingerprints are created equal. This is why the type of hash you use is so important. Older standards like MD5, they've actually been broken. That means two totally different files can have the exact same fingerprint, which of course creates reasonable doubt in court. That's why SHA-256 is the modern standard. Its fingerprint is considered truly unique and verifiable.
Ultimately, when you put all of this together, the tools, the specialized techniques, the rules for preserving evidence, it all leads to one big idea: forensic readiness. It's not just about reacting when a breach happens. It's about having the right tools, the right trained people, and the right procedures in place before an incident ever happens, so you're actually prepared to investigate effectively.
And that leaves us with one final thought. You see, forensic readiness isn't just some abstract concept for specialists. It's a critical question every single organization needs to be asking itself. Because when a crisis finally hits, you don't have time to go shopping for a toolkit. It needs to be ready to go.